When you have constant challenges in life, one of the key mantras that can help guide you is, hey, it is what it is. What's this mean? It means that it's not very productive to spend too much energy resisting or denying things that are. Like when you have to do things that suck. Or in my case, when there are things that you really want to do but can't. You can ignore and deny till the cows come home. Sure, you can be pissed, but at the end of the day, what is, is. So you may as well deal with it. Now, I should say this was not a philosophy that came instinctively to me. However, it is what it is. It became a critical point of view for me and saved a huge amount of energy. Of course, when I was asked to do this TEDx talk, I was so incredibly excited. And I asked, so what do you want me to talk about? And they said, well, the theme is, it isn't what it is. So I decided, okay, I need to look at my life from a whole new perspective. And as I thought about it, I found that my life was full of examples and might as a whole be an example for how, in fact, it isn't what it is. We can start from when I was born. I had super healthy parents, and as a fetus, I was growing very nicely, thank you very much. And anybody would have said that it was a perfectly normal pregnancy, only it wasn't. Out of the 749 other babies in my statistical sample, I was that one in 750 who would be born with spina bifida. Spina bifida is a condition that happens to you before you even know what hit you, within 3 to 4 weeks after conception, when the spine tissues are supposed to zip up to protect the nerves in the spinal cord. But for some reason, something goes haywire, and a section doesn't zip. That leaves the nerves there hanging out, getting damaged without their armor. And the functions that they're supposed to control, they don't work. In my case, that uncooperative zippered section was about 1 centimeter long. It was such a small section, but it wasn't. It had a huge impact, messing up the nerves that controlled most of the muscles below my waist. All is confirmed by a battery of x-rays, tests, and 2 surgeries before I was even 7 days old. The doctor's prognosis, I might never even sit up. But my prognosis wasn't my prognosis, because there was a lot of important stuff that the tests and x-rays didn't show. They didn't run a single test for stubbornness. And the x-ray pictures didn't show the circle of really positive and determined people around me who were hell-bent on lifting me to new heights if it killed me. So, with a lot of physiotherapy and being hooked up to electrical muscle stimulators every night for a long time, I did end up sitting up and then getting around with braces and canes. And when I was 4 years old, things really went down an unexpected road when my parents' karate instructors insisted that they bring me in to start training in the Ninja Turtles class, which is karate for little ones. Oh my God, I thought, me? A Ninja Turtle? Now, not having the use of my legs was at a tiny bit of a disadvantage here. But this disadvantage didn't end up being a disadvantage in the end. In fact, it ended up being quite the opposite. The owners of the karate school assigned some of their world champion karate instructors to work with me individually. Like dogs with a bone, they adapted the skills and drills I needed to learn. Quite frankly, I can try to think about it, but I can't think of a time that they ever took it easy on me. Not through almost annual major surgeries, varying infections, and a fractured ankle, and not through searing neck pain caused by scar tissue from other surgeries I had the entire year before getting my first degree black belt, which, by the way, I thought should have gotten me just a little more slack than it did with them. This was me the day that I tested my first degree black belt in karate. It was definitely a team effort to get me through that day and that board in particular. I had just had abdominal and brain surgery a month before this shot, to the day, to finally deal with that pesky neck problem. I was just shy of 13 years old, grading with 150 other people going for their senior belts in a big university gym, while about 300 others watched from the stands. So yeah, I was a little nervous. After a couple hours, we got to the board breaking part of the grading. Now, I've been breaking boards for years, and I always went through. But there was always this little seed of doubt in the back of my head. But I realized for something as important as that day, I'd only be setting myself back, letting doubt in. So I aimed for unwavering confidence. I wound up and went in to break the board, but I didn't go through. I bounced right off. Over and over and over again, I tried to break the board, getting angrier and more determined each time, until my hand was bloody and my ego aching. I couldn't believe it. Had I really lost that much strength while I was recovering from surgery? I was so embarrassed, and I really wanted to quit. In fact, everyone in the audience really wanted me to quit, because this was almost as painful to watch as it was for me to do. Almost. And then a realization for the ages. The gym floor was wood. Shiny wood. This shiny wood gym floor had just been, wait for it, waxed. Every time that I wanted to make contact with that board, my chair slid backwards on that wax, stealing my strength. As soon as the wax had been found out, my dad raced behind me, held me in place. I wound up, and I broke the damn board. Turns out, I wasn't a weakling after all. I was the hapless victim of lemon-pledged floor wax. And so, we return to the theme. The circumstances of that grading, with my year-long illnesses, recent surgeries, and the waxed floor, they were disastrous, but they weren't. I probably developed more resilience that day because of all those complications than I ever would otherwise. And even though I still didn't have strong legs, this whole deal showed me how strong of a spirit my instructors and all of my trials had pounded into me. And the list of things that weren't what they were goes on. I also had an information processing issue caused by another condition called hydrocephalus, which caused the fluid in my brain to overfill and swell, making dealing with school a little difficult. But it wasn't the only thing. Because of my, let's call it, extensive career of surgeries, tests, appointments, and infections, I was also in the hospital a lot, and I missed a lot of school, sometimes an entire term. And yet, believe it or not, difficulty reading led to an extra ability to learn and memorize just by listening. Having to work double time to constantly catch up and work through being sick became something I expected. And being in an impossible situation didn't shock me anymore. It's just sort of my regular life. But you know what? I've been talking for quite a while about how I do learn strength through my first 15 years or so. Strength to keep moving forward, even when times got really tough. But there was a different type of strength that I hadn't learned yet. Although in grade 10, I was about to get the gist of it. Now, who here feels or has ever felt the pressure to succeed academically? Okay, everybody's hand went up. Great. Me too. The night before my 10th grade exams, I had secretly been dealing with an infection that I got all the time. I was so tired of these things constantly getting in the way of my living a normal life. All I wanted to do was fight through the pain, like I always tried to, and just make it through. I wanted to go through the regular milestones, just like everyone else, even exams. That's how desperate I was. Unfortunately, I underestimated this infection. And after struggling to study really hard for exams, while in so much pain, it hurt to breathe, I finally had to surrender and have my parents take me to the emergency room. We were all shocked to find that I had a serious abscess, and we were told that if we waited another day or two before seeing a doctor, it would have ruptured, likely killing me from blood poisoning. So yeah, learning to fight through the pain is a great survival technique when times get tough, but it's a slippery slope. It can become so easy to ignore your gut telling you that it's just too much and it's time to stand down. You might actually feel weak even considering taking a breather, but I'm here to tell you today that you're not. I did ultimately graduate from high school and get into university. And during this pretty awesome time, yeah, I was working really hard to get my degree. But more importantly, I was hanging with amazing friends. I was going to basketball games, and I was just enjoying life. It may not seem like much, but it had taken me so long to become confident in who I was and what I could accomplish. And this confidence was finally starting to shine through, drawing the right people into my life. People who saw me underneath all this medical stuff and appreciated my often inappropriate sense of humor. People who were willing to step up to the plate when medical stuff did happen to me because their friend needed them. End of story. And so, in an effort not to disrupt this nirvana that was my life in that moment, I again started brushing off warning signs of bigger things brewing in my body. Who would have thought that I'd learned my lesson the first time I did this? You know, after almost dying? Nope, hard hit. Unfortunately, it took finally having it all and coming this close to losing it for good. This time, I waited almost a week until a Friday night, feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train, before I called my friends and asked for a ride to the hospital. I was in trouble. Now, before you say anything, I know. Friday night? Party pooper? Oh, how right you are. Over the next 2 days, I went from 1 infection to 3, plus an abscess, plus a colon rupture, plus sepsis. And if that wasn't enough for you, a move to the intensive care unit. Ultimately, I needed emergency surgery in my ICU room. I spent 14 days in the hospital, with my parents flying in from Toronto to Victoria, my friends visiting on a regular basis, usually armed with munchies, which went great with my morphine drip. And me, the warrior I thought I was, falling flat on my face, just trying to get out of my bed and into my wheelchair. I don't know if I've ever felt so angry. Angry at the universe for letting this happen just when I felt like I could make it in the world. Angry at myself for letting my medical stuff win. Angry that I was 1 semester away from graduating in the normal 4 years you see in movies. To be honest, I can't tell you that I bounced back from this as quickly as I'd like to say I did. I did ultimately have to take that semester off of school because I was killing myself, mind, body, and spirit. Forcing my body to meet standards and expectations that weren't my own wasn't going to show anybody my strength. I had to surrender to find my strength. Talk about it isn't what it is. I had to hit rock bottom. But this end marked a whole new beginning. because it was during this time that I came up with the idea for my company, Phoenix Attitude. You know, Phoenix, rising from the ashes, spreading your wings, coming back to life stronger. But don't be confused, because it doesn't just happen. You have to be willing to fight for it in ways that you know and ways you never even thought of. You have to be willing to use your strengths, accept when you need support, and move on. Hence, the attitude. In creating Phoenix Attitude, everything back in my life came together to create something good. All of my experiences of pain, rejection, depression, helplessness, being at the mercy of the medical system, every difficulty I'd had in my life and would have in the future, all fueled my new purpose. I wanted to help other people going through the medical system and offer them support and motivation while they getting hammered by life. I wanted to show them that they have more power than they realize. And like all of us here today, we are the experts on our lives. And so, nothing is what it is. It's what you make of it with help and support. It's how you look at it, how you react to it, and how you're forged by it. What's this mean for you? It means that when you find yourself facing what you see as an impossible situation, it might not be. It might actually make you stronger than you ever thought possible. Physical disability didn't mean lack of achievement physically. Learning disabilities and constantly missing school didn't mean failure academically. Almost dying twice didn't turn out to be such a bad thing after all, but more like a miracle in more ways than one. When you're ready to look at that impossible situation from a new perspective, think about it and try it. Think about how you can adapt, because it's never too late to sit up, bounce back, and push forward. Thank you.